Get ready for the revolution. It's coming to you now. It's coming to you now. You're gonna see an evolution. It'll never bring us down. No, they'll never bring us down. Get ready for the revolution. Get ready for the revolution. It's coming to you now. It's coming to you now. You're gonna see an evolution. It'll never bring us down. No, they'll never bring us down. Get ready for the revolution.
Hi, and welcome to this week's live stream. I'm super excited to A, have a sunny day down here at the bottom of New Zealand, and B, have the wonderful Charles from BOMA, based up in Auckland, here to talk about organic marketing and their platform and everything associated with that. So I'm going to bring Charles in. We will have time for questions. So if you do have questions, pop them in the comments. They do come through to me and I will see them as we go. But let's bring Charles in and start to chat about BOMA. Hey, Charles.
Hi, Anna. Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone.
Welcome. It's great to have you with us, and we're testing out the new widescreen look, which I'm liking.
Yeah, I like it as well. It's a bit kinder on our on our close-ups.
Exactly. So for those of you watching, Charles and I are pretty much at opposite ends of New Zealand. So right down here in the base, in the bottom of the world, effectively. Just we've been talking for a couple of weeks about what BOMA does and how it can help those in the accounting and bookkeeping industry with organic marketing. So Charles, I'll let you tell your story because I love a good story. So I'd love to hear more about where, how, why, etc.
Yeah. So myself and Ian Christie, who's the other co-founder, and so we had actually spent our careers in advertising and marketing, and Ian had done, we both lived together, well, not sorry lived together, but we both lived at the same time in London, and he had started one or two other companies, and then we had been working together when we returned to New Zealand a couple of years apart, we had both been, I suppose, consulting for companies in the States and Europe, and they had Marketo and MailChimp and a lot of very high-end marketing platforms. And the more that we worked with these people, you know, not to forget these are large companies with big marketing teams, we just thought there has to be an easier way for small businesses to market themselves, because it's, you know, if you're not one of the big players with 3 or 4 plus people in your marketing team, it's almost impossible and it's very expensive. So at the same time, Ian, who lives in the Hawke's Bay, one of his daughters was having, she's a surf lifesaver at the time, and in her squad was one of Rogeri's daughters at the time, and they were sort of chatting about what they'd been up to, and Ian was sort of mentioning to Rod that he was looking to create a platform for small businesses to help them with their organic marketing. And Rod said, well, look, have you ever thought about accounts and bookkeepers? Because, and obviously at this time he was the CEO of Xero. He said, look, I think there's a real need, because whether they know it or not, it's becoming more and more important. They need to reach out to their clients. They need to support them. And at the moment, there's not really anything that is designed for them. Sure, they can use MailChimp. Sure, they can use other things. But these are really either designed for retailers, or they're designed, like the likes of Marketo and HubSpot, they're designed for large companies, with multiple people to run them. So with the sort of the idea planted in our head, we were like, yeah, let's sort of look at what the opportunity is. And we thought, actually, this is perfect. What we didn't realize then, and this was 2016 when we started, or 2015, 2016 when we were building it, was that the revolution of that was sort of hitting accountants and bookkeepers. We were maybe a little bit ahead of our time. So when we were at XeroCons and BookkeepCons and sort of events, and we were chatting to accountants and bookkeepers, we had some early adopters who definitely saw the need, like they understood that they needed to be out there marketing. And this was, at that time, it was probably due to, if they were just going out on their own, maybe they were a little bit younger and they sort of like needed to build up their business. And we thought, oh, what have we done? This is, is there going to be enough people to sustain us? But what we've seen in the last couple of years is like everything has shifted, and the mindset change, both among accounts and bookkeepers, but also among your clients and prospects, is that actually I want my bookkeeper, my accountant to be talking to me more than just that once or twice a year if they're an accountant, or sort of only about bookkeeping things if they're a bookkeeper. I actually want support because I'm a business person, and things are tough out there. And obviously we saw this with COVID. And one of our partners in the UK, Practice Web, actually did some research pre-COVID and post-COVID. And pre-COVID, the sort of the buying decision, what people value in their accountant and bookkeeper was expertise and professionalism and all those things that you would sort of expect. But mid-COVID, this was sort of June, July last year, it flipped on its head, and like those were still important, but it was all about communication and support. And at the very same time, when accounts and bookkeepers were knowing that they needed to be doing this, at the same time they'd never been busier, they'd never been more stressed, because you have clients who are struggling and need more support. And you also, because of COVID lockdowns, you can't just go and see them necessarily, even if you had the time. So that sort of crux came of, how do I support my clients and sort of maybe look for new prospects? Because a lot of people said that their clients went out of business, unfortunately, and that's that's a reality. So for the first time ever, they couldn't just rely on having sort of long-term, lifetime clients. They actually had to go and prospect. And then they realized that actually, to market myself, especially on the organic sense, it's great if I already have a platform, but what do I say? How do I show that value? What's the story I can tell? And, some people maybe have that sort of left brain, right thing, and are able to sort of write off the cuff social posts, and they love writing newsletters and they have the time to do it, or they have people in their organization who can do it. But the vast majority, it's tough. I mean, I do marketing for BOMA and I struggle, and this is what I do day in, day out. I have anxiety about social posts and blog posts that I'm writing, and that's my bread and butter. So we thought if we could combine a really easy to use marketing platform that allows you to do email and social, plus a lot of other things, but then we put into that content. And so we said, okay, look, there'll always be a time when you have your own content that you want to use, but what if you could mix and match it? You could go into a library and you could bring out of there content that would be really topical. So if you're in New Zealand or Australia, it's specific to your location. And so if something has changed in the market, maybe regulation, or there has been, an update, and you just want to tell your clients about it.
Yeah.
You can go into the library and just pick it, you can customize it. But the idea there is that you can sort of keep doing what you're doing, which is, busy at work and supporting clients, but you're able to, through the content, make sure that you are doing, you're looking after your organic marketing. You have it on your website if you want, you can put it into an email, you can pop it into social. And so that's kind of what we're all about, is helping people who are maybe at the slightly newer end of marketing, helping them sort of take those steps, supporting them through kind of amazing service that we have, but then also, I suppose, giving them the content so that they can, in time, use our content and their content to do what they need to do, which is, you know, whether it's a mixture of marketing yourself or just supporting your current clients through information. And we try and make it really, really easy and really, really cost effective as well.
That's amazing. And I've seen the platform, and it actually makes me really excited at the ease of how and the opportunity of what it presents for people to be able to use.
Yeah, I think that's what we learned, is that it's really easy. Like if you look at a Marketo or something like that,
Yeah.
and it has 1,000 different features, and they are amazing features, but you're probably ever only going to use 5 of them, you know, if that. And actually the added complexity is the enemy of, you know, getting something done, because to do something which should just be 2 or 3 steps is then 10 steps. So with BOMA, we've really tried to reduce the complexity, make it all quite organic and easy to understand. You know, you do step 1, 2, 3, it's spelt out really simply. And so success is really, it's doing something. I know a lot of people who, when they comes to marketing, they get excited and then they try and do something, then they lose interest because one element, if it's too hard, like it's too hard to use their platform, or to come up with content every week is too hard. And then they stop. You know, whereas success is actually, it's that consistency of messaging, of marketing, which is going to work. So that's why we spend a lot of time making BOMA simple. And so, you know, I think if you sort of have a look at the platform, you know, we like to say within sort of 5 minutes, you'll be able to sort of be sending your first campaign, whether that's using our content or your content, or a bit of a mix.
Amazing. And so in the platform, it sends the information out to LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, so you can do social posts to LinkedIn, Twitter, LinkedIn personal and business, and Facebook. Instagram is a little bit funny. So you can do paid posts to Facebook and Instagram via BOMA. So if you want to maybe boost a post or sort of promote something that you're doing, we can't do Instagram social posts at the moment. That's just, we haven't been able to get the permissions from Facebook. There's a few companies in the world that sort of do allow into their API, and we're sort of knocking on the door for it. But one of our users, what they do is if they have, you know, if Instagram's a really good channel for them, they'll do everything else on sort of BOMA, and then just copy and paste the image and the text kind of into that one channel.
I love it. Facebook is always looking for ways to make our lives difficult.
They really are.
But yet they want us on the channel, and it's a very weird situation.
Well, I mean, I think it's such a fantastic opportunity, and I think in terms of where you are, you know, marketing, and we often get asked, you know, which social channels should I be using, and look, there's no, look, and this is our advice here, and you may have sort of additional thoughts, but we always say, look, it really depends on who your clients are, who your prospects are, and where they're spending their time. So, you know, this will change. And so for some people, say they were speaking with a slightly younger demographic, they're, you know, retailers or tradies or something like that, you might find that Instagram is really popular. You might find for another group that LinkedIn, because, you know, they're professionals, they might sort of skew slightly older. It's really sort of dependent on who you want to target, and you may actually have a couple of different segments of your clients, and you could say, oh, that's cool. If I'm talking about a specific topic, I might want to go to this channel like LinkedIn, and if I'm talking about another topic or a different message, you could try another channel. The key is really to look at your current clients, find out where they spend their time, and you can do that sort of just by asking them. They'll always have to tell you, or you can just go and do a bit of research, you know, go out and look where their company social profiles are, where their personal profiles are. That's probably a pretty good tell as to where they're going to be spending their time.
Exactly. And I'm guessing highly most people will be still email and probably Facebook, but certainly.
Yeah, I mean, email is just such a fantastic channel, and I think a lot of people, look, don't get me wrong, social, it is fantastic and it has its place, absolutely, and it's a great place to be sharing information, especially if you're wanting to get in touch with maybe people who aren't on your email list, and you can drive them back to your website, or promote things to people outside your list. But email is great. They've given you permission to email them.
Yeah.
You've got their details. You can personalize that email, so you can make it very, you might even know what they're interested in, so you can segment your emails. So if you've got something to tell them about a regulation which would affect them, and we did a webinar the other day talking about all the new Bright Line tests and sort of housing insights. You might have investors who are clients, or you might have a different group. And so, a great thing with email and with BOMA is that you can segment your audience and send them information that's going to be relevant to them, which is really important, because if you're sending them relevant information, that's more likely they're going to continue to open your emails. They're going to get that value, rather than if you sort of too often send them information which is not relevant. Eventually, they're just going to, stop answering or opening that email.
Correct. And then they'll potentially miss something actually valuable, because they, like me, either unsubscribe or put a filter on, and it goes into a folder that I never check.
Yeah, which is, and I think it's really, it is always interesting to look at open and click-through rates. And when you are sort of sending those emails, and in BOMA, you can obviously, we've got all those stats there, but you actually can look from email to email and say, okay, well, what was the open rates? And it might be something really simple, like you were a bit late and you sent it up Friday at 4 o'clock. Well, Friday at 4 o'clock is not a great time to send email. People are sort of checked out, and then by the time they get to it on Monday, it's 1 of 50 emails. So the time that you send it's obviously important, but also, as Anna was saying, is it going to be relevant to them?
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. Should we have a wee look at BOMA?
Love to. Look, so this is my first time on StreamYard, so let me jump in there.
If you share your screen, I'll add it in, and we can just show us through, because it is. I want to show others how cool it is, along with
Does that come up?
Yep, it's up.
Great. So this is the dashboard of BOMA, and this is basically one of our sort of dummy demo accounts. So it's set up for a mythical firm called Huge Accounting, and John is the owner. And what you sort of see here are sort of some key elements. So you can see some recent articles in the content library. Over on the right-hand side here, you've got sort of a setup, and you've sort of got things that you might want to do once you're sort of in the setup mode, and obviously create a campaign. Once you've set up your campaign the first time, you can actually minimize that, and then you actually can see analytics. And these are obviously dummy accounts, so there's not a lot of data in here, but you can sort of just get a view, for the last period, how have my emails, how many emails have gone out, what's the engagement been on social. So it's just quite an interesting way to sort of get a flavor for how your marketing's going. Awesome. And then over on the left here, you can actually see your latest campaigns, and these might be, I've got a couple of campaigns scheduled in here, and then I've also got one that's in draft. So lots of different sort of ways that you can see your recent activity. Probably a good place to start is in the content library. And the content library is basically, it's available to all accountants and bookkeepers. And we do have quite a few partners in here. So we've obviously got ourselves, and so we employ accountants and bookkeepers and financial journalists and HR experts to sort of write content about things that are going to be relevant for our users. And we encourage you to get in contact with us if there's a topic that you'd like to see addressed that we don't have. But the idea here is that you can search by the library. You can actually come into here and search by topic, and so you've got everything from compliance, and this account at the moment is set to Australia. So you can see here we've got some information about September quarterly activity statement. We've got stapled funds, single touch payroll, but we've got way more than that as well. It's not just compliance. We've also got things like just general business advice, And these are great if you're just wanting to maybe put something on your website or send out some information to a client or a group of clients that might be useful. It comes all the way even down into taxation. So this might be things like, obviously COVID is really critical at the moment. So actually you can send out something that talks about a newly released government assistance package. Is quite useful. And so again, you could have this on your website, or you could send it out in an email. So if you click into a piece of content, you can see here that we've got an image. This is an image that you could use for your social post and email. We've got the introduction content, which is your social post. And then down here, we've got the sort of the content of the email or of the blog post. So everything in here is all, you can see we've got links in here, we've got titles, and you can actually then go and edit it if you want to. You also have full control over the different channels you want to send it to. So is it just an email? Is it just a social media update? Or in this case, is it both? When we name it, so if it's our content, we just call it after the name of the article. If it's your content, that's where you would just write, whatever it is that you wanted the content to be called, and it's only seen by yourself, so you don't have to worry about anyone else seeing it. The first step here is you can actually edit a little bit of this text. So this is sort of the global edit for social, and it might be something that I just do something very basic, like I'm just going to add 2 hashtags, COVID-19, and I'm going to add the hashtag of the business in this case. And once I've done that, it's actually going to come through, and then all my social channels will actually have that update. And you can edit the social channels individually. I'll show you how to do that. But what I suppose this does is just to say, hey, if you just wanted to do a blanket edit, then you can see here that it's come through, and you can preview it. And there's the post. If you wanted maybe say to turn off a social channel and not send it to personal this time, you just click it off like that. And then as we go down Twitter, so Twitter, you'll actually see we've got an alert saying we're slightly over our character limit. So you can see we've got the character limit down here. So I'll just delete that hashtag. Again, everywhere I'm sort of highlighting here, you can actually go and rewrite it. So if you wanted to have it slightly different because you had slightly different tone of voice, or you addressed your social audiences in a slightly, more upbeat way, or sort of different tone, that's completely up to you to do. Facebook is a little bit different. If it was your own Facebook post, your Facebook post would appear here. But because Facebook doesn't allow a third party like BOMA to post automatically on your behalf, you just have to do basically click the copy to clipboard and then paste, and then it goes in there. And you can see here, let's actually change this to contact us, or it could be learn more, it could be contact us. So you can actually specify the call to action that you want.
That's cool.
Now in the email, and this will probably be familiar to those of you who've done a little bit of email marketing, but we've obviously got our sort of our dummy list in here, and you've got a couple of options as to how you segment it. So you could say, look, I want to send it to everyone, or I want to use tags. So you might want to send it to clients or non-clients, or you might have those in retail. It's really up to you as to sort of include and exclude people. And then the last way is that you could say, look, I've just had a really interesting call, or I've just bumped into someone and I'd like to send that person an email, or a couple of people an email. You can actually go and tag them manually, and then they'll get this email.
That's really cool.
So templates, so you can use previous templates. So you might have a really nice newsletter template that you've set up. But what a lot of our users do is they start with their business name template here. So this basically gives you your logo, calls to action to your website and your social pages, your address, and an unsubscribe button. And then what we do is we actually give you the text of that piece of content, and we show it to you in different formats. So these formats here are great if you were doing maybe a newsletter and you just wanted to drag and drop in a small piece of content sort of talking about an issue, but you didn't want to sort of take up too much space. The one down the bottom here is actually the full article that we were looking at before. So it drags in the image, a title, and you can see the full text here. So obviously with email, we want to personalize it. So if we use a merge tag, then everyone in the BOMA CRM who you have a first name for will actually then, it will say, you know, Dear John, Dear Anna, Dear Charles.
Yeah.
Everything in here is editable. So if you want to change the font, you want to rewrite a section, you want to do anything you want, it's absolutely fine. None of the content is locked. You can obviously do a sign off, and then you might want to do something pretty normal and add a button. So that could be a contact us button.
Yeah.
And, you know, where do you want to send it to? Do you want to send them to a website? So is it your contact us page? Maybe it's a page on your website which talks about this in more detail. What you can also do is have it send you an email. So you put your email address in here, the subject line, and the body would be, you know, thanks for your email, I'd like to discuss this topic more. Or if you've got clients or prospects who you think are more likely to want to get in touch immediately, they're always on their cell phone, you can actually have it make a call to you direct. So lots of different ways that you can do it. It's really up to you. So the nice thing with BOMA is that just because we've used some of our content doesn't mean that you can't go and use some of your content, and you might have a piece that you've seen in a newspaper. You might even have something on your website like a blog that you want to share. And I'll just take a blog from our website, and I'm just going to share a website URL. So what this is going to do is it's going to pull in the image, the title, a little bit of introduction text, and then it's also going to put it into that same format that we saw before. So this is a great opportunity to say, great, I've got my main piece of text. Now I want to send them onto my website, and you know, and so instead of having to build this yourself, all you have to do is put the URL share in there. Again, you can edit any of this. You can edit the image, the text, the call to action button, but that's just a really simple way for you to add your own content in here. If you were actually wanting to add your specific content of yours, you can sort of drag and drop in images, you can drag and drop in text, even videos you can pop in here. So it's all completely editable by you. What I was sort of showing you with the with sort of dragging some content in is that, you know, it's obviously easy to drag some of the BOMA partner content as well. Once you've saved it, then your email and your social posts are ready to go. You can obviously rewrite the subject line if you want to. You can obviously change the name of the sender detail. This is just the sort of default when you set it up. You could send yourself a test email, which is obviously quite handy to do, just to maybe check with, you know, for spelling, or, you know, if, you know, not necessarily BOMA, if you've got BOMA content, but if you've written it yourself, it's always quite good to cast another eye over it. And then you can schedule it. So, you know, is it right now? Is it sometime in the future at a specific time? And then you schedule it, and then that's your campaign done. So that's kind of sharing a piece of content from BOMA. In terms of the organic side of marketing, what a lot of our users like to do is do social posts.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, we can do this in a number of different ways. You could share a link. So if I take the same link that we showed just before, again, this could be a link from your website. I pulled it in here, and you can actually see that it's going to pull through the text, the image, and everything, and it's going to put it into those same social channels, and I can preview it, and there's my social post ready to go. We've sort of done all the lifting for you. Obviously, if you want to add a little bit more text, you can. And then the other way to do it is to say, well, look, actually, I don't want to share a link. In this case, I've just got something that I want to say. So we, in this case, going to share some text, and then I'm going to share an image. And the image is here, so you can actually upload them from your own website, or we've also got free images. So it says 2.7 million. We've actually got nearly 3.5 million images. And if I take something random like beach, but it could be literally anything that you can think of. You can actually take the image from in there and you can then share it. So this could be a social post where you have just, you've been to something, you've got something to say. You can obviously caption it. If you wanted to, you could even put a link in there. So that same link, if you wanted to choose the text and the image, you can obviously put a link in there as well. And that could be both to your website, or it could be to a maybe an event that you're holding, or maybe something that you want people to download. So lots of different ways to share content. But the aim is that we just try to make it simple.
Yeah. This is so good, because it's such, it's one of the number one things that people have said to me is how do I create content? How do I share it? It just seems to take so much time, and being very, I guess, analytical and working with data most of the time, going and switching into that marketing brain can be quite hard for a lot of people.
I think, once you start procrastinating on something like this, it's very easy to say, well, look, I need to do that thing which is going to support my clients and will also be billable. And, I know that balance between billable hours and marketing, which is probably non-billable hours, is obviously really strong. And no matter how good one's intentions, if marketing's not if it's not easy and you sort of can't fit it into, if you knew that every Monday morning for 20 minutes, you could sort of set up a couple of posts for the next week and be confident that that was sort of all you needed to do. If that was all the time you had, then that's, that is success. We used to see people when we did conferences, and we'd see them at a conference sort of, at the beginning of the year, and they would see one maybe the next year or a few months later, and they would have said, no, I don't need BOMA because I write all my content myself, or I'm going to write it all myself. And then we'd sort of see them a few months later and be like, how's that going? They'd be like, actually, I started off for the first week, and then I realized that it's quite an intensive process. So we just try and make that element of, success is doing something, and the more you can do something, the easier it will become. It'll become more second nature. You'll understand what works for your clients and your prospects. You'll get that really comfortable sense of that ease. When it comes to doing social posts, you'll feel much more confident doing your own social posts, I think, if you know that, say you only had to write one in every 3 or 4, that's a lot easier to be like, right, I'm going to be pithy and witty and interesting 1 out of 4 times. to do that every time is quite stressful.
Yeah, I fully agree. Oh, that's amazing. I'll just stop sharing your screen and come back just to us. Thank you for showing us through. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh, this is just so good. And I'm sure there's potentially going to be lots of questions, but for those watching, we will have a landing page happening. I will put it out to the group, and you can jump on and have a look at more information with what Charles has been showing us. But if you're running a business, whether it's just you solo or, I'm guessing, full teams, it's beneficial to everybody.
Yeah, and we do. Are we allowed to talk about the special offer?
Yep. Yes.
So care of Mel and Anna, we've actually agreed a special discount for you for the Bookkeeper Revolution. So it's a 10% discount off the monthly price. And Anna, will you send that out into the group, or how do you want to do that? Yeah.
I'll pop that link once we've got the landing page ready. But I'll actually put the code. I can probably put the code in anyway, can't I?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that code's all live and ready to go.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
I think there's one other thing to mention is I was at on another partners sort of group about a month ago, and luckily one of their users, who's their user and our user, he piped up to say, BOMA has the best customer support I've ever experienced from a tech platform. That's not by accident. We will go above and beyond to help make your BOMA experience a success. So if you'd like a demo, if you want training, whether it's in your first week or your second year,
Yeah.
You know, that all comes with with it, because we know that if you're, you know, succeeding in marketing, if you're sort of, you know, understanding how to work it, then that's, you know, you're going to be, you know, get the most out of it, and obviously stay with us, hopefully, and enjoy the product. So, you know, any time you want to sort of ask a question or jump on a call like this and sort of have a video chat, we're very open to doing that.
That's fantastic. And it is, I guess, when people look at things, they need to look at it from that return on investment. If you're let's say you're charging yourself out at $100, $200 an hour plus, to be able to quickly come in here and do your week's scheduling is such a benefit, because then you can just get on with that chargeable work and the system's working behind the scenes for you.
We've got one user in particular, and she likes to schedule a quarter in advance. So
wow.
she spends a couple of a couple of days sort of before the quarter, gets everything, because she has her plan, the whole thing, and I know, Anna, that you're very big on sort of having that plan. She also does leave room for off the cuff things. So not to say that she sort of sets it and entirely forgets. She also, you know, if something happens, you know, little personal updates or a big announcement, but she just sort of knows that her strategy for this quarter is to talk about these topics, and you know, she can set it and then know that every week or every month, whatever her cadence is, it's kind of taken care of. And I think that's, we don't have many who do it that far in advance. Most either sort of do it and then send it out immediately, or they might sort of do 1 or 2 weeks in advance. But the idea is the same, is that, you know, take that plan of action, use BOMA to sort of make it happen, and then, as Anna said, you can sort of relax a little bit and go back to supporting clients directly.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, thank you so much for sharing. The time is flowing.
Thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed it.
It's really fun. I really enjoy doing these and learning and sharing, and being able to bring experts in your field out to our members as well, which is awesome. So for those of you watching, I will pop the code into the comments so that you've got that there. I'll also pop a post up in the group so you can go and check out BOMA and jump on board, because I think it's amazing. Yeah. If there's any last marketing or business words of wisdom for you from today?
But I think what I've definitely seen from a lot of accountants and bookkeepers, and I think you hit on it sort of early on, is that when you, in your profession, I should say, you know, you really have to be right every time, because you are dealing with businesses and payments and taxes, and so it has to be sort of spot on. I would say with marketing, give yourself a little bit of leeway and freedom to not, like, it doesn't always have to be perfect. You know, authenticity in marketing is really, really key. And you know, if you're just getting sort of the hang of it, just get out there and be authentic and sort of engage with your clients and your prospects, and you will feel more comfortable over time. But don't sort of worry that if it's not perfect, that you can't do it, because like anything, the more you do something, the more, you know, comfortable and sort of more proficient you'll be. So yeah, so I would say that would be my sort of one piece of advice, is sort of step outside your comfort zone just a little bit, and acknowledge that you know, marketing, the great thing is it doesn't always have to be, you know, just because you've said something today and it's talking about your birthday or something that the team has done, that's great. That's telling your story. And then tomorrow, if you want to do a post on something that's sort of super accounting or bookkeeping focused, that's fine as well. You know, it doesn't, you don't have to worry about kind of being the perfect marketer the whole time. You can have a bit of fun with it.
I think that's great. And I love, and actually that just came to mind, Catherine, one of the originals at Xero, recently on Twitter, when Xero had an outage, she responded back to a comment, and I shouldn't say this word now, but somebody commented and said, you know, get your shit fixed. And she just commented back and said, I've got the shit fixing team on it. That's gone viral. And I've had chats with her about it, and she goes, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. But it just went viral. And it's just that authenticity just came through, and that customer will love them forever.
And also, responding to it rather than ignoring it, I think, is the other thing. The worst thing that in that situation she could have done is either ignored it or deleted that post.
Yes.
What she did was, with a bit of humor and not taking herself too seriously, said it. And that is, I mean, that's what we all wish for, is something like that. In terms of a sort of a response, as you said, that customer will love them forever, because it's a direct response. They're on it, then they're fixing it.
Exactly. Unlike Kiwi Bank in New Zealand recently, who kept having outages and just really didn't keep customers up to date. And it's like nobody could access their finances. So yeah, that was probably not a great example of and also I think people being empowered to just experiment with marketing. It's people buy from people still, whether it's on social or in person. It's that authenticity is so key.
Very much. Actually, no, sorry, last point. I know we're going over, but actually that's a very good point. If you really want your social point of view or sort of tone of voice to be the same as your own, because you don't want the sort of the person that you have sort of seen all your posts and be like, oh great, I really love to work with Charles, and then they have a conversation with you and you're like, oh, you're two different people. That's going to be a bit jarring. Like your social persona and you are very, very different. And it's really hard, to always be like, oh, what does this perfect version of me online look like? Much better to be yourself.
Yeah. I did that recently with my CrossFit gym. I took over commenting on one of their events that they ran, and I had people comment to me and go, I could tell that wasn't Stacey, the main coach, the owner. They're like, we could tell that wasn't him posting that, because the voice and the tone is just, we're so different in that way. Which was actually it was really fun to have that example. And I've had that before where I've written a couple of blogs and the first one just was awesome. But then the second one, when I was at Xero, the marketing team got hold of it and it made it a bit too PC. And I actually had accountants and bookkeepers comment me personally going, can tell you wanted to say more, but it was edited out. It really didn't sound like you. So yeah, it is very important just to be authentically you. Yeah. Cool. Wow. Thank you everybody for joining us. This will obviously still be staying in the group, and Charles, we'll probably have you on again soon.
I'll look forward to it. Thanks so much for having me, everyone.
No worries. Well, we've got some comments. So helpful. Thanks so much. Awesome, guys. If you've got any questions, I will see them come through. So pop them through and I can always answer them later as well. And congruent. Awesome. I never know who's commenting, because from one Facebook it shows me the person and the other it just shows me a user. So I never know who's actually commenting. But it's all good. Well, I will end the broadcast now, let everybody get on about their day, and I'll see you again soon.